So it's not the first time that you're going to slide off and do something really stupid.
Oh, 2 NOS cans is too thick.
I'm gonna apologize for my language right now.
I'm here to go run snowcats.
You're listening to the Blade Dive Podcast. Now, the man who prefers the center seat stacks loaves of snow using the sound of his voice and is able to refuel his machine, but not the DEF tank. And unlike others, very much enjoys snowcats and sunset photos. Here's your host, Parker Bohan.
Here we go, everybody. Welcome back to the Blade Dive presented by Prenoth. Excited to be back on the microphone, as I always am. But if you're a first-time listener to this show, thanks for tuning in. You're in for a treat. And if you've been a long-time supporter of this podcast, I'm so thankful. So appreciate you being back. A couple of things really quick. One, I am turning the Blade Dive website, or a portion of it, into a job board. So if you want to get that operator-specific job up there, or the terrain park day crew job, or the snowmaking job up there, let's do that. There's a form to fill out on the webpage. You can't miss it. Head on over to www.thebladedive.com. Let's talk. All right, episode 50. Took me long enough, but we finally got here. Just want to give a big thank you to everybody, seriously, that has stayed with me this entire journey. Over 100,000 downloads, even more plays, just across multiple platforms. It's a really niche listening audience, and I couldn't be more thankful for, again, everybody that's tuned in and supported me along the way. But let's get into it. Episode 50 is officially Maddie McConomy. She hails from Ontario, Canada, has spent her time working at places like Lake Louise, and absolutely has made large impacts, not only in just being around teams and influencing people with her positive attitude, but has become quite the accomplished welder. And I think that is really where the perspective shifts for a lot of these stories that I want to get involved with, is that Maddie has not only built terrain park features, but she's contributed to crews that have built things in Kosciuszko National Park. She's worked with contractors like Charles Beckinsale, and she wants to do even more. So I'm going to shut up. You know the deal. Grab your favorite drink, kick your feet up, and if you're in the machine anywhere in the world, turn up the volume.
Go ahead and give it the juice.
Alrighty.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Blade Dive. I have Maddie McConomy in the booth with me digitally. Currently, she's actually on another continent, so that's pretty cool. That's always an exciting adventure for me. But if you've been living under a rock and you don't know who Maddie is, she has made profound impacts within the industry and beyond. Currently, she is residing in Thredbo and will contribute to the crew there this year, and is currently the VP of all dance parties that take place at Arena Snow Parks. And yeah, excited to chat further. Maddie, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. This is it's pretty exciting stuff.
It is pretty exciting stuff. I'll let the coffee kick in. It's been a long day for me. I told you earlier, this is kind of like, this is awesome because you get through like the work section of what I had to do, and this is definitely a passion for me. So I'm honored that you're on the show. If you didn't tune into kind of some of the posts I threw out earlier in the spring, as we kind of breathe some life back into this thing, there were a lot of people that wanted to hear Maddie on the podcast. So I just said, hey, that's got to happen. But you know how we do. We kick this thing off with a special guest question. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm so ready.
Awesome. I'm ready too. I'm excited for the answer. So let's jump into it. Our first special guest question is from Lucas Wallet.
Oh, hey guys. It's Lucas here. It's pretty cool that Parker finally got off his ass and started doing some more episodes. Nice work, dude. Hope you're recovering well after going full send the other week at Cutter's Camp at Wendell Skate Park. Never knew you're such a ripper. And yeah, I hear you got Madzilla on the episode today. Mads, this is awesome. Stoked for you. It was super cool bringing you onto the team this year. You meshed with the crew perfectly. You know, there was a lot of raging testosterone in the shop with Steve and I. So it was nice to kind of mellow it out a little bit. You know, you and Gail really just make things lovely on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, you're super quick to pick up all the ways we do stuff in the shop. And seeing your skills right off the bat, welding all the rails and boxes was really awesome. And then when wintertime came and we had to bail, you held the fort down, went solo in there and just crushed it. Put out all those rails and boxes and sent them out across North America. So yeah, I was really proud of you, and can't wait to do it again next year.
No.
So, yeah, I guess my question is, after we came back from working insane hours on the road, pushing snow, building events, just exhausted, and, I have maybe one day off and come right back to the shop to help you in there. And I really want to know why you thought it would be such a good idea to just torture us with your taste of music. Every day it was just non-stop Taylor Swift. I don't get it. Sure, maybe hundreds of millions of people like her, but I don't at all.
I don't.
Yeah, maybe we can try and change that for next year, but I don't know, maybe the listeners want to hear why you're such a Swiftie kind of girl. Okay, anyways. Miss you, Mads. See you soon. Bye.
I wish I was surprised that he called me out over Taylor Swift, but I'm not at all, which is hilarious. I think that's classic Lucas. He is definitely a workaholic, so it's not that I needed help in the shop. It's that he wanted to come and get back to work. So that was a little dig there. But no. And also disclaimer, I always offered for him to put his music on, especially after so long in the shop by myself. I was kind of sick of my own stuff. But okay, to answer the Taylor Swift question, I'm going to go a bit deeper than I think he was expecting me to answer.
Oh, go. Yes.
Answer this question. So this is not the first time I've been, I'm not even the only girl. Gail's around a lot, but it's not the first time I've been in a male-dominated industry. So it's definitely not the first time I've been like, oh shit, are they going to like my music? So I think my answer here for Lucas is, this is a testament of how comfortable I am around those guys, because there's been lots of places where I've been the one to bring the speaker, on a job site or in a kitchen, where I've been like, hey, this is my speaker, but I don't feel comfortable playing the music I want to because I'm going to be judged. And along with some personal growth, I know he's judging me about my taste in music, and I don't really care anymore. And yeah, I like some Swifties. I like some Swift. Definitely a bigger Miley fan than Taylor Swift, and it's not my only genre of music that I listen to, but I do enjoy grinding Lucas's gears sometimes. There's some give and take there.
Well, I mean, solid answer. I mean, it's kind of like, as I mentioned earlier, with the VP of the dance party scenarios, the holder down of all the good vibes at the shop. I mean, somebody's got to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have to ask, though, favorite Taylor Swift song? Go.
Oh, favorite? I'm going to say...
Top 3. You can do 1, 2, 3 if you want to.
Oh my goodness. This is huge. Okay, favorite album is definitely Reputation. So I'm gonna say Don't Blame Me and Getaway Car.
Okay.
But Style,
I'm writing these down, by the way.
Style is a huge one. That's just a 10 out of 10 song.
I'm gonna go deep here on the songs. So if those are your top 3, is there something about those songs that resonates with anything that's happened over the course of your life, or is it just the beat's really good, or is it a lyric thing? I don't know. Music for me, I can get on board with some Taylor Swift all day. Let's go.
Good.
I can.
She's got a song for everything.
I can get on board with some Taylor Swift for sure. So Lucas, get off the bus, man. Get on or get off. One of the two. Pick.
Yeah, I mean, I've even witnessed Steve have a little bop to Getaway Car. So
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, Steve.
he has a 12-year-old daughter. That'll happen.
I know, right? I feel like music has always kind of had this hit or miss with me, where I'm stuck in. Like my favorite band is Led Zeppelin, so I'll go for like a week or two.
Respect.
Yeah, I'll go for like a week or two of listening to just straight Led Zeppelin, and then I'll have to just smack myself and come out of it and go, "Brr," like, wow,
Yeah.
how about some, I don't know, where's some Daft Punk? But it doesn't necessarily have to be about the lyrics. So I have to ask. I know that a lot of her songs, she either writes them all correct or is heavily, she's like,
I believe so.
She writes them all, right? Yeah. So there's got to be some love for what she's got to say on the mic too, right?
I think a lot of it has to do with the beat. I love a dance. Anyone who knows me will know that a dance floor is like a happy place of mine. Getaway Car, the lyrics are brilliant. I think they flow really well. Same with Style. Oh, Don't Blame Me, honestly, is just like a scream along song for me. I love it. It gets the emotion out.
I envision myself in my next Snowcat session, which I don't know when that'll be. I'll put on some Swifty music just for you. So our next special guest that we have, we're going to do the 1-2 punch, Mr. Steve Petrie.
Surprise! Hey, Mads, Steve here. Congratulations on getting on the blade dive. Can't wait to give it a listen when it's all finished. Had a question for you. You joined our team this past winter working in the fabrication shop and got thrown right into the mix, building all kinds of boxes, rails, and other things along the way. I was just wondering, was there any style of feature or one feature in particular that was your favorite from this winter that you built? And also, do you have anything that you're looking forward to possibly fabricating in the future? Also, I know you're a pretty big hockey fan. I was wondering, what's your favorite team in the PWHL? I've heard rumors that you're going to play hockey next year. I'm wondering if all that roller skating you do is going to set you up to be a superstar on the ice. Who knows? I guess we'll see. Anyways, great work this winter. Have fun down in Australia this summer, and we're looking forward to working with you again in the fall. Bye.
Bye.
Well, like I have to say, like the PWHL is legit.
Oh, I will not be in the PWHL. That's for sure.
Man, he was dropping some heat there.
This is definitely a huge inspiration. I got right into it this winter. That was really exciting. I definitely got into it a bit later in life compared to most Canadians who play hockey. Started in like grade 7, I think. It's probably around 12. Yeah, I learned how to skate like when I was like 2, but I just never was interested in hockey. And then my friend Sarah started playing, and I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. I loved it. I really, really loved it. Played until grade 12 when the girl league stopped. I really like it. And the PWHL this year was so inspiring, so exciting. Definitely should have happened a lot sooner, but I'm so glad that the women are finally getting an awesome platform to show their stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in supporting your hometown. I don't live there anymore, but PWHL Ottawa was my favorite team. They broke my heart when they didn't make the playoffs, but I'm still a fan. I'm still here for them. We're in the long haul.
Yeah, I mean, I just Googled it. It is legit. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
It was some seriously exciting hockey too.
Yeah.
Like the girls showed up.
WNBA I've been tuned into a lot this summer. Hockey's entertaining to watch. I just have no idea how to play the sport. I would just smack the puck around and be like, yes, I hit it really hard.
See, that's me in basketball. I'm like, I respect, but I have no idea what's going on.
I shot the ball from half court. What do you think about feature-wise, his question?
Feature-wise, yeah. Honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed everything we built. Maybe the I had enough with a few dance floor boxes, but that's part of the game. I think there's a few favorites. We did kind of like a newer style for Insta360. We did a big fat like rectangular tube material for a battleship rail, which I think is it was really, really fun to build. There were some big fat welds. It was nice to do the angles on not round tubing, because that can be difficult. So that was really cool. And I'm interested to get the feedback on what people think when they're riding it, because I haven't really hit a feature quite like that. Also, I like a challenge. I definitely like a challenge when it comes to building features. So the zigzag rail that we did for a Red Bull event, which hasn't hit media yet. I'm not sure when that event's gonna be posted, but yeah, that zigzag rail was pretty fun. I hadn't done anything like that before. Yeah.
What is your take on skirting? No skirting or skirting for rail features?
Ooh. I like the skirting as a far of like another way of making it interesting, like with the colors and like when brands do logos. But as far as like when you get like the 6-inch round tubing, I think that's my favorite look for rails, with the no skirting underneath, like a big rainbow. That's just like, that's it. It's just the rail speaks for itself.
Well, a huge shout out to Steve and Lucas. I know those guys are a riot. And so the fact that you can joke around with them, but yet they have the utmost respect for you, because at least that's what I got out of both those questions as well. They're super. They're so grateful for what you do at the shop and in the industry and who you are. And I think that to be able to work in that capacity, you just have to be a very, very, very talented person, and you got to have a sense of humor with those guys too.
Yeah, I have the utmost respect for them as well, and I'm so grateful that the important things are taken seriously, and the not so important things are a lot of fun. Yeah, we have a really great time, and I think a good dynamic. And I'm super thankful for the opportunity. Like, wow, this is so cool. I pinch myself a lot working in that shop. So yeah, love those guys.
Yeah. I know Lucas is having a good day when he sends me like 6 reels on Instagram in the span of like 5 minutes. It's like, dude, you're taking a nice deuce, or you are in a good mood right now. I don't know. Covering kind of like the trade school. And again, I think this is where, I'm gravitated towards knowing more about what you've done with welding. I think my question essentially would be like trade skills in schools, why you think welding and pursuing a trade skill can really kind of connect the dots for a sustainable lifestyle for your snowboard habits and life goals, just to kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't imagine combining welding and snowboarding for a long time, like until I honestly discovered Arena, and it was strictly just a backup plan of like, shit, well, at the moment, how do I put this? In the moment, like, I just saw the ski industry as like entry level fun time, and then you get out of it. Like, I didn't realize that there was like careers in it. Like, it was kind of just like, oh, there's a few bosses up the top, or there's the pros, and everyone else is kind of like in and out all the time. Like, that was kind of my perspective. So I think the more you're into it, the more you realize that like there's electricians, there's millwrights, there's welders, there's operators, there's professionals behind the scenes in marketing and all sorts of media. Like there's so many aspects to the industry that's not on snow, or there's snowcatting is definitely becoming more of a viable career as the industry progresses, and we chat about wages and the cost of living and all of that aspect to it. Trade school was pretty dope. It was really fun. As I said, I didn't realize it. It was honestly like in 2017 when I don't even know. I think I was housekeeping at like Silver Star at this point, or maybe I was already in Australia.
Never been there, but I really want to get up to Silver Star. That place just looks so much fun. Anyway,
it's pretty cool. There's a lot of like flat pushing around, but once you get to the spots, they're fun. That's definitely my experience there. Yeah,
very cool.
It's
very
pretty cool. Silver Star and Vernon, BC. That's where Jessica Murrow's from. And I think Pootie's from Vernon too.
And talking to just, throwing comments back and forth with Pat Morgan, one of the things that he mentioned to me was that one of his career biggest mistakes was that he did not do more for himself earlier. And I think that that's something that resonated with me, and I think that that's something that you're doing now with your ability to weld as good as you can. Well, I have to bring this up first before we move on, but you were in a welding competition, and so I want to know what that was like, and if that was while you were going to school, because as I mentioned to you offline, I've had some welding competitions with myself for overhead welds or vertical welds that I've lost. But what is a welding competition, and how do you win something like that? Or what's, pass or failing grade there?
So it was pretty cool. It was, I was chosen out of my welding class. Like it was, I think our class was like 50 people.
Nice.
And there was 5 of us girls in the 50 people. So, and then 2 of us were chosen to go to the welding competition. So it was pretty early in our welding schooling. So once they kind of realized like who was going to go and they chose us, we got like fast tracked and coached in like a lot of aspects of welding that wasn't going to happen until like later in the school year. Or in the program, I guess. So it was like a lot of pressure to like, okay, they're gonna test you on this, they're gonna do this. So basically, the welding competition was, it was province wide, so all of Ontario and all these schools sent these people, and all of the schools had like very different programs. It wasn't like a standardized like curriculum. So the one I was in was a year of full-time schooling.
Wow.
But there was some where there was like 3 years and 2 years, and they were separate and part-time and all this. So we kind of had like a pretty big mix of people at this competition. And then, so basically it was timed. There was a few different processes. So there was aluminum TIG, stainless TIG, carbon steel TIG, and then I think MIG was the other one. And it was just steel, and it was all different positions and thicknesses, and we had to read a blueprint there and then put all these pieces together, and it was also timed. So it was a lot of pressure. It was pretty cool. It was like you're thrown into the deep end. Here's a blueprint. Here's a bunch of like pieces of metal. Put it together how we want and make sure the welds are good and do it within this time. So I guess really accurately what a welding fabrication job is. Yeah, it was cool. We drove, me and this other girl that was in it, April, shout out to April, me and her and our 2 professors. Yeah. Sounds good. I think she's still working as a welder, to be honest, which is pretty
sick.
rad.
Yeah.
So yeah, we drove down, I think it was in like Kitchener. So it was like 6 hours from Ottawa, me and her and my 2 professors, and they coached us through, but they couldn't really be like any help in the actual competition.
Were they like the proud parents on the sideline where they were like, "Oh my God, get the speed, get come on!" Like,
yeah.
Were they allowed to like cheer at all, or I mean?
Well, not because it was in this big, like, there was a lot of different trade competitions happening at the same time. There was
great. That's
there was like an electrician one over here and like a baking one over here. There was like all different. It was quite cool afterwards to like walk around and see all these different things that were going on. It was pretty damn cool. But because it was like such a crowded place and we were welding, we were fully hidden. Like we were in our little booth because it would hurt everyone's eyes having like, I don't even know how many people were in this competition, to be honest. Maybe like,
I was gonna say blinded
like
by the light. That's the first one, like,
yeah.
song that comes to mind when you're watching that competition. Bring your hood and you sit in the audience with your hood on.
Yeah, so we just like did it, and then I had to go like find them afterwards and be like, "Hey, I'm done," and they're like, "Oh, no way, cool!" Like,
really?
It was really cool. But we were, probably the 2 of the least experienced people there, just where the competition fell in like our schooling time period, I guess. I think I came like 11th.
I was gonna say, did you still kick some ass or what?
And there was so many dudes. It was like, I mean, like mostly dudes.
11th out of how many people? Like more than 50?
I want to say around there, but
Dude, the
I think it
audience
was
is
probably
listening right now.
less.
Everybody listening right now.
I could do a deep dive and figure it out. But it was also really cool because this company in Ottawa found, or maybe not this company, I think it was like a welding supply store or something, found out that we were going to this competition and they like kitted us out.
Oh,
like,
sick.
yeah, I still wear the welding jacket that they gave me.
So
like
dope.
at arena.
So
and it's
dope.
like blue and it's got like these flames on it, and it's like we got this special helmets, and it was like, and then we came back to welding school and we were like looking so fly, and it was like, what? It was really cool. It was such a fun opportunity. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. That is 11th out of more than 50 people.
I think so.
Yeah. What is this?
Yeah.
Short advertisement for how well Maddie McConomy does at welding. She's a freaking badass welder and wins competitions.
I was so scared.
Hire this girl.
Thank you.
Hire this girl.
I mean, honestly, the most rewarding experience besides like welding school itself was towards the end of my schooling. My professor was running a welding summer camp thing, and so there was like, it was called Mind Over Metal, and it was 11
Love
to
the name.
13-year-old girls. Yeah, and we got to take over a trade school for a week, and like I got to teach these 11 to 13-year-old girls like how to weld, and that
Wow.
was like really special, especially because they weren't all like super confident. Like a few of them had like really bad anxiety and like were struggling, and like that's kind of why they were there. They're like, oh well, normal school's not really working, let's try this. And oh, that was so cool. Yeah.
Well, I want to pivot, and I'd mentioned to you earlier while we were chatting offline that I did have the chance to catch up with Pooty, Brendan Poot, for those.
Legend.
Yeah, legend. He is also a contributor to Thredbo Parks, Thredbo Ski Resort, and Arena Snow Parks, which I think is rad. So I'm staying within the family here. But as I kind of like dive into, doing as much research as I can about the guests, the one thing that's going to be on the show, the one thing that keeps coming up with you, Maddie, is that your positive attitude is contagious. You're a gel that kind of contributes and keeps everybody together, but also helps everybody kind of see that it is just a snowcat in a sandbox, and it's not that big a deal, and we don't have to take it that serious. So yeah, take it away. I'm rambling, but no, curious on your thoughts there.
No, I appreciate that. That's really, really nice to hear from everyone that they've absorbed my positive vibes, because sometimes I'm blindly optimistic, but that can be a great thing and a bad thing. But I think as far as like a vibe in like a crew and like having that positive, I think just like, yeah, what you said, like not taking it too seriously, but also like just being there for each other. Like I think I'm pretty limited in the snowcat industry. I've only driven cats at Thredbo, so I only have that perspective. But I think from talking to other people in the industry and talking to different vibes at different resorts through these people, you often get like egos in the way of like, I'm not gonna help you. Just being able to like even just Pooty himself, like when I was initially learning, and the snow in Australia can be quite soft. I was like trying to fix
with
this
that statement.
Yeah, it can be really frustrating sometimes. And I was like working on this one section for a long time, trying to like move some snow, patch it up, spread it around. And I just couldn't climb back up this one part. And I was like, oh my God, like what? I don't know how I'm going to fix this. And I knew Pooty was up in the park above this area when I was working. And I was like, dude, like I really need your help. And just like having the confidence to ask for help, and not be judged and be like, no, okay, I know I thrive in different ways. I know I tried my best. And he just came in, whipped it all up, fixed it up, was like, probably would have taken me another like 3 hours to do, and he did it in like 20 minutes. And I was just like, oh, thank God. Like, and just not having that judgment, not having that fear of failure, because that can hold people back a lot. Like if I'm scared, I'm not going to try. or if I'm scared I'm going to get judged and ripped to pieces for failing, then like I'm not going to try. And you stay, and it can really like hinder your growth. So I think diversity is a huge part in having a good crew, like having a lot of different personalities and views, and even just like age levels and skill levels and different backgrounds. I think that's like super important in any kind of environment. But yeah, I think just like having a positive attitude, and also like exactly what you said, like we're just kids in a sandbox. Like this is not a life or death situation. People will be able to ski tomorrow. It'll be fine. Like, yeah, I think it's great to have high standards and always try and put the best product forward, but like it's not the end of the world. There's no reason that we should be screaming at each other over the radio because someone fucked up. Like, yeah, there's fuck ups that deserve a talking to, but overall, I think that's what makes a good environment.
Yeah, no, solid answer. And there's no wrong answer. I'm again super curious because you don't have to be the biggest person in the room to make the biggest impact or create the best culture possible for the betterment of others around you.
No, absolutely not. Like career achievements are great and respectable and awesome, but like if you're not smiling, if you're not making people around you feel good, then like that's not how they're going to remember you. They're going to remember like, oh, that's a grumpy person I don't want to be around. So yeah, it's priority to like I went through some shit in my first season at grooming. Like, yeah, definitely didn't feel happy all the time, but like just having a decent attitude and being able to put that stuff aside. And not to say that's always a healthy way to deal with your shit is by pushing it aside, but like it's your shit. It's not everyone else's shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, just smiling and being happy to be there, and realizing your privilege of like, this is, in a lot of aspects, it's a job that a lot of people want. And like realizing that can be pretty productive, a way of keeping positive, being like, you know what, we've overcome worse. We'll get through it. Let's go do it. Yeah. Make fart noises on the radio, make everyone laugh. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Play Taylor Swift songs over the radio and key it on the mic so everybody can hear it. I do want to know more, and I know everybody listening does too. And I'm jumping ahead, but I would love to know more of what it was like to grow up as you, Maddie McConomy. You know, growing up as Maddie, what was that like?
Ooh, growing up as Maddie was pretty cool. In Ottawa, Ontario. So it's not the mountainous place that I ended up now, but it was cold and flat. There was a few hills around. Yeah, I've got my two younger brothers. Shout out to them. Love them so much. So yeah, I got into snowboarding at age, I want to say like 11, because Ontario had this really awesome program where everyone in grade 5 and 6 got a free pass to a bunch of the local resorts to like get them into the industry and like support like a healthy lifestyle of snowboarding and skiing and stuff. So my mom was a skier in her youth and still skis to this day, honestly. It's been a while since I've gotten to share that with her, but yeah, she's still doing it. So yeah, the oldest child, when I hit grade 5, she was like, holy shit, yeah, I can afford to go and take them. So I remember my first time we were at this hill. I forget what it was called. I want to say like, no, I'm not. I'm going to butcher the name. I haven't been back since, I don't think. But my mom was like taking us into the rental shop because it was our first time ever. So she didn't like commit to buying anything. Take us in. She was like, okay, 3 pairs of skis. And I was like, absolutely not. Give me a snowboard. She's like, what? And I was like, yeah, and I want a snowboard. And she's like, no, like you can do whatever you want afterwards, but like I want you to ski, because she's a skier. So she was like, this is what I know. This is what you guys are gonna know. And I was like, Mom, I will literally sit in the car if you don't let me rent a snowboard. So she gave in. She took my brother skiing, and then she put me in a lesson, and I was humbled immediately because snowboarding is really hard. Like when you're first starting, like, but yeah, I really loved it. And honestly, shout out to like the Ontario school system, because that was where I got most of my like snowboarding exposure, was like ski clubs and the occasional trip. And there was like a snowboard team in high school, and like a bunch of my friends ended up being like skiers, and a few snowboarders, but mostly skiers. So I would go with them and their families, and my lovely aunt would take me. So my brothers weren't super into it. My middle brother's a really, really talented skateboarder, so he kind of got into snowboarding a little bit, but not quite, and didn't really share the passion with me. So yeah, growing up in Ottawa was a lot of like night skiing, first of all, on like sheet ice. So I'm real good at that.
You did tell me you went to Whistler on a high school trip. Was that kind of where everything clicked for you in the industry and just kind of the passion for it?
Yeah, that was definitely like, if there's any moment that changed, like there's been a few moments in my life that have like seriously pivoted my whole worldview, but that one was like pretty big. Yeah. Also, shout out to my high school. We went on like a week-long trip to Whistler, and I still like don't know like why, like what the purpose of that was. I think I honestly just had some like frother teachers who like made it work. So that was really cool. That was a really special time. Like, not that I grew up like poor or anything, but like it was, skiing and snowboarding is expensive, and I didn't really get to go on like many trips. Like all my experience was in like, Ontario and Quebec, because Ottawa borders Quebec. So there was a lot of those little tiny hills. So yeah, I got to go. It was such a treat. I felt so spoiled. Got to go to Whistler for a week. And we even got like the first tracks passes. I know, it was so cool. Like I still don't know why, but like whatever, it happened. It was fun. So yeah, I went out to Whistler with my good friend Nicole. And we got the first tracks passes. It literally dumped every single day we were there. Like, I don't think we saw the sun, but we also had no freaking clue how to ride powder. And I remember the first day, it was like a 30-centimeter day. We got like literally breakfast at the roundhouse at the top and rode down. And I remember we got halfway down, and I was like, I had tomahawked probably like 17 times at this point. I was like, but I was having so much fun.
You were still
and
stoked.
I remember, I was like, I just fell and nothing hurts. And like, getting up in a lot of powders hard. And like, Nicole was on skis, so we were both very much struggling, but having a great time. And I remember that being like, holy crap, like I didn't know that snowboarding could be this. Like, that was my first time seeing like big ass mountains and being like, whoa, okay, like I want to immerse myself in this. How do I do that? Like, what the hell? I didn't really realize that that ski bumming was like a thing, that like you could just go and work for a ski resort and that could be it. So yeah, at that moment I decided to put plans aside and take a gap year and like give it a shot and do that for at least a whole season. I was like, okay, as soon as humanly possible, I'm moving out of flat Ontario and to the Western Rockies. Yeah.
What was the job? Like, what were you looking at that was like, I want to do that. I want to come here and work and do that job. Or did you care?
No, I didn't really have like a plan at all. Like, so I don't remember. I think this was in February. So I think it was like we were planning on applying and like considering universities. Like that was the clear path to take, as it probably still is. So I had gotten into university for mechanical engineering, because I really liked math and I liked practical things. So I was like, okay, cool, I want to design that. I want to design stuff. And then so I deferred a year, because I was like, okay, no, I want to go and work at a ski resort first. And then, you know what, I'll settle into to university life. So yeah, I got a job as a lifty out at Lake Louise. I moved straight out there in November of 2014.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my first move out of home, straight into Staffacom with a whole bunch of like-minded people. And that was crazy. I was a lifty on the top of the world lift. So it was like the second half of the mountain top. It was crazy. I was like, how is this my life? And then I met all these people that they made snowboarding their lives. And I was like, whoa, okay, these are my people, like we share similar values. Like I want to succeed in a career, but first I just want to be surrounded by mountains and beauty and be outside. So yeah, I didn't really have like a plan of like how to be in the industry at all. Plans aren't really my thing.
The calculated individual that wants to be the engineer does not have plans. All right. Okay. All right. I can get down with that. Yeah.
I knew I liked math and physics. I was like, this applies. There wasn't really like a moment in this season at Lake Louise that made me kind of decide. I don't remember that, but I do remember being like, actually, no, I want to work with my hands. Like, I don't want to be the person that designs and does all the math. I want to be the person that builds it and like creates it. So then I was like, before I moved out to Lake Louise, I kind of had like a deal, like an agreement with my family of like, okay, Mads, you can do this, but we really want you to come and do some post-secondary education. And I was like, you know what, that's kind of fair. Like, I get that. So there wasn't a lot of pressure. Like, my family's always been super supportive of like, do what makes you happy, but like, it'd be nice if you made money too. So I was like, hey, I don't want to do university, but we'll figure out what I want to do. So I was looking through courses and reflecting on things I enjoyed earlier in life. And I was like, oh shit, maybe welding. That'd be cool. I did a little bit of welding in high school. In metal shop class, we built like go-karts, and that was super cool. And I remember really, really liking it. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's move back to Ottawa and do a welding course. So I just never went to university. I don't even think I let them know. I think I just like ignored all the emails when they were like, hey, you coming back? You like deferred a year. I don't even think I did anything. Yeah. And I didn't really have a plan of like welding is going to mix in the snowboard industry. It was more so just like, okay, when ski bumming and cooking and lifting isn't fulfilling anymore, I have this like skill to fall back on. Like, that was kind of my approach to it in that aspect.
Yeah.
I didn't really care what I was doing as long as I was snowboarding. And then
me personally, like I did the same thing. I took a year off from college and I went to Mammoth Mountain. My parents are going to be listening to this episode maybe, and if they do, they're going to be like, "Oh shit, that's the same thing we made Parker do. We would go out there and come back, and then he finished college." They're going to be like, "We don't sound like that," but thanks. Like, the one thing that sticks out to me as you were kind of wrapping through, kind of getting into welding and doing trade school, is that you mentioned that your dad was a fabricator, and I guess what I'm very much curious about as we get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation is, did you have a passion for cars? Did your dad ever kind of pull you in and say like, hey, check this out. This is what this is all about. I build these. I build this. I build that. Let's work with this arc welder or whatever. I mean, was there any of that going on?
Yeah, there definitely was. Like, from as early as I can remember, we were dragged along to car shows and exposed and like really given the appreciation for like all the different like styles and aspects of being into cars, basically. I remember we had this window into our garage from like one of the like in the doors, and my mom had to like fully like tape it up with like all this cardboard because me and my brothers would stand there and like watch Dad weld, and we like couldn't understand that it was like hurting our eyes. I did get into cars a little bit through my dad. Definitely he's like very talented fabricator. So I was exposed to that a lot. And like had a huge appreciation for the cars, and he had like definitely like a race car driver era before me and my brothers came along. Actually, no, I think it overlapped. I think there's like a photo of me as like a baby, like in his like race car seat in his old Jetta.
So sick.
So that's terribly cute.
So sick. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then he kind of went away from race cars into hot rods and lead sleds and rat rods and all the 9 yards. And I definitely got into it when he ended up getting a workshop out of town and starting kind of really getting into it. And then we actually bought a truck, 1950 GMC pickup truck, which was like my favorite era of trucks. And we bought it for like $300 out of like some dude's field, I guess, for lack of.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, literally, it was literally in a field, and we were like, yeah, let's redo it. This will be like dad and daughter project. He was stoked. I was stoked. And then, we kind of got into it. And then, I moved out to Lake Louise, and I think he still has a whole bunch. Like, we took it apart, and then like I left. Like I think he still maybe has the hood hanging on the side of the garage. I think we bought a dash for it that he's gonna put in like a different project. And like as I got older, I still have a huge appreciation for cars. I'm super glad that I know how to change brakes and fix a flat and do all these things. But it definitely made me realize, I was like, oh, do I like cars? Or did I just like spending time with my dad?
Yeah.
And having all his tools and having everything, like working on your shit box on your driveway is not really my vibe. But on my recent trip, I was there visiting like a few weeks ago, and he put me to work in his shop, and he was working on a car. I forget what it was now. He's gonna drag me for that, but yeah, it was really fun. I like that I know about cars, but it's definitely not like my full on passion. No, I think it's really cool though.
No, I think that's rad.
Respect.
I know I'm learning new things as we continue to chat, but that was one of the things that my dad did when we were growing up. It was a 1976 K5 Blazer that had been converted to look like the 80s model. So they had taken the round headlights. No, I'm sorry. The 76 was the round. It already came like that. I liked the 80s version where everything was boxy and square. So, I had to take the round lights out and put the square lights in and get the square grill. But it was in a freaking field, all weedied and nasty and shit in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Egypt,
like just a little
Georgia.
Raccoon hotel.
Oh, totally. It looked like the car had grown around the forest, or the forest had grown around the car, and it had become one with the earth. But it had a 1993 Chevy Silverado engine and transmission in it, which was wild.
What?
Yeah, the dash. It was so funny. The dash of the car was the 1993, but it was wild because this dash was, as in the early 90s versions of like the GMC Yukon, they were just flush. They were nothing special. The dash was just straight. It was super ugly. But this dash was literally PVC poles drilled to the firewall, and the dash was zip tied to the PVC pole. It was like,
oh my God,
it was amazing. And I bit hard into it. And I think like push came to shove, I definitely enjoyed spending more time with my dad than I did working on the car. He at the same time was working on a Triumph TR6. He had taken like 2 cars to make one car, and so he had cut the chassis off of another, and he teamed up with somebody to weld the whole vehicle together. It actually turned out really good. It was like a baby blue he painted. It was pimp.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, I stole that thing out of the garage a bunch of times to teach myself how to drive a stick. But yeah, it was, no, I can totally relate. I think there's something to be said for kind of people outside of your family that have a really big influence on you, but there's also nothing that, you can't choose your family, right? And so spending time with my dad, even if it was in the yard and he was trying to figure out what to do with that TR6, is what I enjoyed more than wrenching on a vehicle when I was like 15. Yeah. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah. No, good times. I think before we get too far along, I want to hit push road questions.
intro question of the day.
Okay, so Lane_Millam wants to know, how has building features and running cats changed your perspective on riding? Ooh.
That is an excellent question. It has seriously changed my perspective on riding. Like, more just like an appreciation for what goes on behind the scenes. Like, you can be like, oh, wow. Like, it's so easy to show up to a park and be like, wow, that feature sucks. And you're like, well, no. I mean, like, maybe from your perspective, but like from a difficulty of building that feature, and like not just in the in the fab shop and in the cat, like I have a great appreciation for everything that happens and everyone's skill. Be like, oh yeah, like they'll definitely fix that up tonight. But like to pull that off with this snow and the conditions and the placement it's in, it's like, whoa, okay, no, that's dope. That's super dope. We'll enjoy it for what it is. Yeah.
Tommy Mac _ski wants to know your favorite Thredbo memory, and then he ended it by saying, from Tommy Mac.
I'm going to say my favorite Thredbo memory was when the COVID season, we got that was the first year I got onto park crew, and then Thredbo decided for health risk reasons they didn't build a park. And then towards the end of the season, it got, Tommy and I ended up being lifties together. And then towards the end of the season, they were like, oh shit, wait, COVID's kind of like dialed back a little bit. Let's build a park. And it was like survival mode. Like, it was just Tommy and I. There was Nicole, she was supervising, but she had a lot of other roles. So on the snow, it was Tommy and I, and we got to the top of the park one day, and literally everything had, like, the boxes had fully melted out. And we were like, this is like, if we call off the park, then we lose our jobs. So we were like, we have to make this work. And we redug and reset like 3 boxes by hand in like 2 hours. And there was people like skiing by every direction. They were like just judging us. And we were like, no, we are doing this. It was late spring, so it was soft as hell. And we just like made it work. And then it was a super fulfilling time. And we were like, yeah, the park lives another day. So that was a pretty great memory of like, nice. Nah, we're going to do it. And that was my first ever experience in like on the rake on the park. And just Tommy and I were like, yeah, no, if we don't do this, then we don't have a job tomorrow. And also just the passion of keeping it together.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty favorite memory of mine.
That is rad. All right. Cindy wants to know, she's got 2 questions for you. What's your dream event to build or fab features for? And if it doesn't exist yet, what kind of event would it be? And then her second question is, describe the personalities you imagine a kink rail, a dance pad, and a flat bar would have. Ooh, that's definitely that. I like number 2. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I really like number 2 as well. That's a really creative question. My dream event to build and fab features for is I want to say the Grind Rail Jam. Like, we had Arena itself had a lot of creative freedom to do that, and also we were the ones building it, and just like the energy in that event, seeing the riders throw down and like the hype. So Lucas was a big creative brain behind that, and I was really, really new to Arena at the time. Like, this was the actual event happened early December, and I only started with them in mid-October. So yeah, he was a huge creative design on all the features, and then we got the okay, and then we tackled them in the shop together in Pemberton. It was a whole team effort. Gail, Steve, Lucas, and I. And then they went ahead to Edmonton before me, and I didn't think I was going. Like, the whole time there was talk, it was like, yep, you're going to stay here and hold down the fort. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. That's my role. That's what I signed up for. And then like a few weeks before, Steve's like, oh, I booked your flight. And I was like, what? He's like, oh, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, of course I want to come. Are you kidding?
Surprise.
So just the way the timing and the budget and whatnot worked out, I showed up a week after the rest of the crew was there. So a lot of the snow had already been done. They'd already did the takeoff. And yeah, I was a big part of helping finish off the snow on the in run, which is a huge mission. It was really, really, really steep. So as you can imagine, it's hard to get snow to stick on something like that, especially when you don't have a whole lot of snow to work with. So yeah, we were craning it up there, spreading it out by hand, moving it, raking it, getting it flat, making sure it looked all right. There weren't any crazy ruts. And then after that was all done, and we did the landing, and there was a combination of craning snow and snow blowing and pushing it and shoveling it. And yeah, my arms were so jelly by the end of that. Like and I showed up a week after everyone. Like, that was crazy. The machines, like, big shout out to the entire crew. They were all a really awesome bunch of people, and there were some huge days, and we could have gotten really, really mad and mean to each other just from exhaustion, but there was a really good, awesome vibe. And then once the kind of big air was clear that was going to be good, then we started working on we split up a little bit and started working on the rail section. And that just felt like a huge dream come true. Like, I built the team, but like, we built these rails, and then we were the ones putting them in the snow. And then to sit at the top when the riders were hitting them, I was just like, nobody pinch me, because this is like the best ever. Like, just seeing how much fun they were having was like amazing. Yeah. Like, that's why I do it. Like, I love to ride them, but I'm not a pro. I'm not amazing. Like, I could hit all of them, but that's about it. So yeah, just that was so cool. And just like, a lot of them were really grateful. Like, I didn't get to interact with a whole lot of the big air riders, because they obviously had things to focus on, like sending it off a jump that huge. But yeah, a few of the rail riders were like, "Yo, that was so sick. Thanks so much." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, dude, like, of course, that was really cool. Like, I should be thanking you for showing up and riding this." Like, yeah, it was really cool. Like, just a really huge testament to teamwork and like the people that Arena works with, and how positive we all stayed, and how we all supported each other, and just there weren't any egos in the way. It was just, you're here for this, I'm here for this. Yep, okay. Tell me what to do here. No, I'm stronger in this aspect. Like, it was really quite the elaborate puzzle piece of people. It was really, really awesome experience, and kind of like my first giant event that I got to work on. So I'm super grateful to be involved in that, and shout out to the entire Arena team. Like, there's no one that wasn't a huge part of it, Yeah, that was really special. And I want to say the personalities of these rails. See, my instinct just wants to describe the people that have like would hit them. Like, a kink rail would be like, I don't know, someone that can take an absolute beating and like not be phased, and just probably someone really humble, but could have a huge ego, but just doesn't,
Yeah.
Yeah, like, has the skills and the credentials and the experience to have like a huge ego, but it's just like, oh yeah, no, that's just what I do. Like, I'm just here, I'm just hanging out. Yeah, I'll like faceplant 4 times, but that's fine. I'll just get up and just keep doing it. But a dance pad, I don't know. A dance pad personality would just be like, I don't know, like a big cushy hug of a person, like someone really kind and nice, who's just like gonna embrace you and like celebrate you. Be like, "Oh no, you're good. Just get back up and keep going." Like kind of like a wholesome grandma vibe. Maybe the flat bar is more like the designated driver.
I was just thinking that. I was like, the flat bar is totally the DD.
Yeah.
Oh my
like,
God.
Reliable, always there.
Amazing.
Part of the party, but not life of the party.
That is amazing.
Look at us.
Fucking
That's
read my
excellent.
mind. That is amazing. Wow. Moving right along, whereas Lisa asks, what's something you've done in cat operating, that you're really proud of?
Ooh, I'm really proud of learning how to use the Zog last season in a wheel cat with extremely limited coaching. That was really, really fun. I think I'm proud of the opportunity that I got to do it in a little 13-footer. Yeah, in like an ancient wheel cat that was nicknamed Rumbles, by the way.
Rumbles.
For good reason.
Oh my God.
No, that was really, really awesome. yeah, I hope I get to do something like that again. That's for sure. Or at least help get other people into doing it.
Well, I really appreciate you playing along for the push road questions of the day. That's my favorite part of the show. That has evolved so much. We have so many people that contribute. And we get some wacky ones and we get some really good ones. We get some thoughtful ones, but I think it's cool to be able to once again have the community contribute in a fashion where they get to hear their question read aloud and answered. So thanks so much for being a part of that.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. That was really fun.
The push row question of the day.
Well, we got to talk about snowcats, and I don't really have a great segue. This conversation has been incredible, so I'm just going to jump right into it. You know, my question is, are you worried about really any repercussions that could come from the hand injury? You know, if it didn't heal appropriately, if it maybe affects kind of how you weld or you've changed your process. And then were there any lessons in that situation that you learned?
Oh my goodness, huge lessons. Yeah, big old lessons. For those who don't know, my left ring finger is kind of stuck on like a pretty hectic angle because I broke it and I was given poor advice. And then, unfortunately, the poor advice is kind of what I wanted to hear at the time. So I embraced it and didn't question it. And then it healed. It healed wrong. It was a very fixable injury. And I didn't stick up for myself in a way that I should. So that's a huge lesson, is like get a second opinion. And if things don't feel right, address them sooner rather than later, because now I have kind of started as a joke, but now it's really true. It's like the claw finger.
Oh my God.
So
I'm not laughing because it's, the way that you're terming it is hilarious, but it's not probably something.
When I started calling it that, I didn't realize that it was going to be as permanent as it is.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get the help, and then it was kind of too late. And I hope I get it fixed eventually. But besides cat driving, it hasn't affected any other part of my life. And also, that's a testament to how niche cat driving is, because the surgeons that I approached and was like, "Hey, can we fix this?" They were like, "Oh, well, can you still do your job?" And I was like, "Well, as a welder, I can still do my job, but not as a cat driver." And they were like, oh, well, what? And they were like, I still have full range of motion, like bending it, but it doesn't go fully straight. So that's that little background. And that was a kind of, I can take responsibility for it breaking. I wasn't the most careful in that situation, without elaborating on that. But I think the whole accessibility thing with cats is really interesting and exciting to kind of talk about, because I know I'm gonna get FOMO of using the sticks again. And it's not that I can't. It's just that it's quite painful to hold my hand in that spot for 8 hours at a time. I could definitely get around and do a few hours here and there, but at this point, I'm not going to be a full-time cat driver until if my finger ever gets fixed. So I'm quite thankful. I have other ways of being in the industry. I'm going to be back on a rake this year, and it hasn't affected my welding at all because I am right-handed. I'm interested to see how TIG welding goes, feeding the wire, but I'm sure I'll figure that out. There's more things to overcome to get there. But yeah, the ergonomic sticks in snowcats is quite interesting, because at the same time, there's so many other disabilities that limit people from doing so many jobs in life, and specifically in snowcatting. You don't need your legs. Imagine how much, if there was a way to get in and out of the cat that was easy for people like handicapped people that are in wheelchairs, that, because once you're in there, you just need your hands. And I get there's a lot of other things like getting out and moving ropes and all sorts, but I don't know, there's always a way to overcome it. And just starting this conversation is pretty powerful in itself. But yeah, the wheel cat was pretty cool. I'm really thankful because honestly, I think because I had a broken finger is why I got to learn how to run the Zog and run the Wheelcat.
If there was to be something that could adapt to make your hand comfortably fit to where it draped more over, I don't know. I mean, just something. I mean, I think it would be worth exploring. Probably already been done. But I do want to get into, we've got another special guest question from Gail. Let's cue that one up if you could within your device.
Parker, Maddie, it's Gail coming at you from Pemberton, BC. Excited to pick your brains and very, very stoked that people are getting a taste of the Mad Dog. She's a beautiful soul that I think we're all better off for knowing. And if you guys haven't already covered it, you should definitely talk about Mad Dog Skate School and her favorite skate trick because it's very, very cool. All right, Mads, I've got 2 questions for you. So our industry is leaning heavily into developing communities and a lot on community talk. So with that being said, with the many communities you have been and currently are involved in, do you feel our definition of community and what we are willing to accept as communities is evolving? And what role do you feel these spaces play in combating the industry tendency to look for quick fixes and virtue signal its way out on topics and issues that require more than quick fix schemes? For example, environmental care, Indigenous relations and ownership, diversity, etc. Excited to hear what you guys have to say. Much love to you both.
No, much love to you, Gail. Wow. I wouldn't expect anything less than a hard-hitting question from my girl Gail. This is a big one. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad that her and I had a chance to discuss it a little bit before, because that was a wordy one. I would be overwhelmed if I didn't have that opportunity. But huge love. I think the definition of community is changing a lot as the snow and ski and train park and all of the industries involved in ski resort worlds grow. It's definitely evolving. I think my perspective as a young white female snowboarder is pretty limited, but I can definitely say that we hold a lot of power in like who we decide to align ourselves with. I think more than we really realize. Like, there's a huge value in representation, like how women gravitate towards other women, and like as the sport industry grows. Like, I think with our communities, how do I put this? We have a lot of power in like aligning ourselves with people that share our values. Like, it's no longer like, or at least to me, not it's no longer, but to me it's like, skills are great. It's cool to align yourself with people who you deem more skilled than you in a lot of ways, but like, and they can definitely lift you up, but like, that's not all there is to it anymore. Like, as the industry grows, it's like, yeah, this person may look really cool on social media, but like when you see them in the park, are they going to say hi? Are they going to lift you up? Are they going to give you a high five? And like that sort of community means way more to me than like, oh yeah, having a really rad crew that everyone shreds. It's like, no, like, is this person going to like stop and watch me hit a rail because I said I was going to try something new? Or are they just going to keep going, meet me at the bottom? Like, I don't know. There's competition, which is good. And then there's like toxic competition. And I think there's a lot of power in community of like keeping people accountable. And like, I have no interest in aligning with people who don't have the same values as me. And like, it's like, I'm suddenly good enough to be your friend. Like, no, I should be good enough to be your friend if I can't snowboard. Like, yeah, it's cool that we share this passion, but like, there's a lot more to it than is surface level. And I think as the industry grows, we just need to be like really aware of what values we're representing by who we align ourselves with. Yeah. And as far as the virtue signaling thing goes, I think that's really, really valid as well. Like for if you don't know virtue signaling, she explained it in the way of like, it's like greenwashing or like hypocrisy. It's like if you put your energy into one thing and then you live your life differently, like that's not great. And I think by being in community, like having the brain power and the vulnerability and like to talk about issues, like we're not expecting one person to fix everything, but if we get together and hold people accountable within our community, that's where the change is going to happen. Like specifically, I can speak for diversity, like what I said before, like to talk about being the only token woman is like cool, and you can like feel cool for like 5 seconds, and then you look around and like, yeah, sorry if this is too MI, but like sometimes you just want to ask a coworker for a tampon, and like, you know what, you can't always do that when it's all dudes. Like, I don't know, it's like creating diversity and like actually addressing that topic within your community in like a safe space. Like there's power in numbers. And that's what community means to me, is like finding people who share your values and lifting them up and welcoming others in a non-judgmental way. But non-judgmental can be toxic as well, because we need to keep each other accountable for our actions. And I think the snow industry can struggle with that, because they're like, oh, if I say this, then I won't get this opportunity. And you're like, well, if you say that and you don't get that opportunity, then like you're going to not be your authentic self. And not stand with what you believe in, and not make the change for others by being passive. Like that's not helping anyone by singling yourself out and only fighting for your own rights and your own justices.
You know, I mean, I'll use the podcast as a reference. Like I know exactly why I stopped doing episodes. It was because I had well, I didn't have the child. My wife did, but we, as a family, added a second person to another person to our table, under our roof. And you know, the initial comments that I was receiving about all the, you know, the episodes and the social media work stopping or slowing was heavy. You know, I didn't really understand why I was receiving a lot of the negativity at first, because the bubble of what it is to really be me, I think, comes out in a lot of these conversations. And I think people appreciated that. But what I was not anticipating was the backlash of the episodes not being produced. It doesn't take much for one person to really impact another negatively.
Yeah.
And inevitably make that person question kind of who they are. And, you know, am I or was I being my authentic self?
Yeah.
Is this something I really want to contribute to? Is this community really what I want to be a part of? And it was just, I had to figure out why and how and who maybe. And it was good. I had some real conversations with some people as to maybe why they were thinking that way. But,
no, it's just like really makes you question like your values and be like, fuck, am I like, are these people who I want to align with? Like, are these people serving me? Like, and it's not easy to like cut people off, like not easy to like reject it. And also it's not easy to like reach out to the people that you do want in your life to like ask for help. But like, there will always be those people. And like, I think when I hesitant to reach out and ask for help from my community, the thing that really gives me confidence to ask for that help is like, I would 100% do that for another person if they asked me the same thing. Like if they asked me for support, and like, yeah, you've got your family, which is really awesome, to reach out and be like, yo, am I good? Am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this? Like, am I good? Like, yeah, like, am I doing this for the reason? Like, yeah. And it's so great that you had those people, but like, yeah, to reach out and like, then you're like, shit, fuck, like, where is my community? You're like, oh no, there they are. They're right there. They're just within arm's reach. And I would do the exact same things for them that they would do for me. And just those people that don't align, like they don't have, it's easy to give them power over you. you know? Like, it's easy to make space for the negativity, but ultimately, if that's where your energy is going, that's what you're going to get back. I think that's why so many people say that my positivity is infectious, because I celebrate people when they don't ask for it. Like, because I just think that's really cool. And like, there's so many people that could have these crazy big egos that don't. And I'm like, I'm going to tell you how great you are. I don't care. Like, I don't expect you to tell me how great I am back, but like, I see it, I'm going to give it. Like, I see someone doing something I think is really cool, or like, yeah, maybe I can board slide better than them, but like, I see that they just push themselves so hard to get there. Like, I'm going to celebrate that. And I think the culture in specifically terrain park riding and skiing, there's a lot of improvement to be had. And not to say it hasn't come very far, but I think that's the solution ultimately, is like, just climb to the top of the mountain so that you can see the world, not so that the world can see you.
I should say most everything is how you perceive it to be, and sometimes people's reality is their perspective. And I don't, I can't necessarily fix that. So I agree. I think the shift is definitely the change in culture, the change in mindset is how you attack that. But that's a difficult thing to do. It's almost like influencing from afar. How do you do that? You know, how do you make an impact when you're not physically boots on the ground? And that's a tough thing to do. That's a tough thing to do. I'll have a great segue out of this. Pooty was telling me that you can skate park, you can skate vert. Gail was talking about some sort of Mad Dog skate camp. Maybe that's hockey and not rollerblading or skateboarding, but I don't know. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, I guess specifically the skate school. Okay, wait, no, I'm going to dial back. As I said, I learned how to like hockey skate as like a little kid. So then I was into that. I rollerbladed as a kid, you know, and then in high school, my friend Sarah and I watched that movie Whip It, and we were like, holy crap, roller derby, this is the coolest shit ever. So then we went and watched a roller derby bout, that's what they're called, a game or a match, it's called a bout, in Ottawa. And we were like, I remember we looked at each other and we were like, holy shit, this is like the most badass thing I've ever fucking seen. Like, we have to do this. So I got my first pair of skates at like 15, and we taught ourselves, mostly on the sidewalks, just pushing around, getting it done. We volunteered at the roller derby. It was so cool. So that was like the goal. I was like, I'm gonna do derby. So I was like practicing all the time. I got really good on flat ground, just skating around essentially. And then once we were old enough to be part of the league, I was working full time and going to welding school. So I couldn't afford it financially or timely. But my friend Sarah got really into it, and she's still part of it today. And I remember she invited me. Yeah, she met these really cool gals, and she was like, "Yo, Mads, they're taking me to the skate park. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's really cool." And they taught me how to drop in on this like little mini ramp, and I was like, couldn't like imagine. I was like, this is not a thing that people do. Because my brother was a really good skateboarder, and we had a mini ramp in our yard, and he would be like, Maddie, just come and like drop in. And I was like, that's literally impossible. That's like not a thing this is not humanly possible. So then, these girls taught me how to drop in, and I was like, well, shit, the skate park is free. And I taught myself everything else to this point. And I fucking love it. Yeah, I've definitely taken some hits. For the duration I've been, the time I've been skating, it could be said that I should be like way better, but I just take little small steps and teach myself. And yeah, I started when I realized that the community was getting like growing, like everyone during COVID was getting into it, and it was kind of coming back in a big way, the roller skating. I decided to use my shoulder season. So in between my job at Thredbo and this welding job, I had a month or two, and I was like, I'm gonna do some skate lessons. So I started teaching roller skating on the side as a little side hustle. So that's what Mad Dog Skate School is. And I didn't make a lot of money at all. I didn't advertise it to be terribly expensive, but it was really, really just good for the soul. It really gave back. It was really fulfilling in a lot of ways, like seeing these people fall in love with the sport, especially kids. And I even had my coolest lesson was like this woman who knew how to skate. She could get around just fine, but she was like, teach me how to hit a ramp. And I was like, oh my God, yes, like this is great. So that was really, really awesome. And I hope I've inspired some people to learn things that I guess they wouldn't normally think is doable. But yeah, that's my little roller skating blurb. I really like it.
Well, I do want to talk about snowcats, but I also want to thank Gail for contributing to the episode. Again, I think that's how this whole community gets value out of all this, is that they do contribute to the episodes, and there are some amazing questions that come through. So big shout out to Gail. Thank you so much.
Big shout out to Gail. Super thankful I have her in my life.
What advice would you give to the audience, first year operators, your takeaways, your successes, failures, any of that?
Oh my goodness. Hands down, do not be scared to ask for help. Like it's good to do things and learn by doing them yourself. But like, there's a reason people are at the top, like there's a reason you can, just watch, keep your mind open. Like exactly what I kind of said it before, but like there's power in acknowledging what you don't know and just taking pride. And like, it's good to be hard on yourself. It is good because that's how you grow. But like, just speak kindly to yourself as well. Like acknowledge what you've learned and acknowledge how far you've come. And also, I guess, check your privilege. Like a lot of people want to be in that seat. And just be thankful for it. That was a whole bunch of different advice all in one, but that just took a control over me. It just happened.
I also want to talk about kind of what you were doing outside of school. We've kind of gone into the why welding, but
yeah,
what essentially was your big break into realizing that you could do welding professionally, and people realized that you could do your boss, essentially your company that hired you, realized that you could weld professionally really well?
Oh, yeah. So I was the pig. I don't really want to go into the pig farm thing.
You don't have to go into the pig farm.
Really. No, that's like not really a fun time of my life. That was to do my working holiday visa. There were some different rules back then where you had to do farm work in order to stay in the country.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only reason I did that. But anyways, my first true welding job was building walking tracks in Kosciuszko National Park in New South Wales, which is the same park that Perisher and Thredbo are in, for everyone who knows what that is. So I had called around like a lot trying to get welding jobs. Like I was working in a kitchen at the time. I was really unhappy. I was like, I want to get out of this. I'm going to put my skills to use. No one had hired me to be a welder. I didn't really know if my diploma of welding and fab from Algonquin College in Ontario was going to even translate to Australia. So I was just kind of like, fuck it, I'll call and hope. And there was quite a few places that I called up and they were like, they heard my voice being a young female Canadian and they were like, no. I was like, no, trust me, I can weld. Like, can I come and do it? And they were like, no, what the hell? Because I didn't have the money or the means to like go and buy stuff to show up at the shop. Like I did it a few places and they were like, no, we're not hiring. Like, no. Even as a trade assistant, I just got a lot of no's. So
wow.
I found this walking track job and I was like, oh, whoa, like that is so cool. Like it's outside, it's welding. Honestly, it ticked every box. Like it was amazing. And I called up and he was like, yeah, shout out to Jay for my big welding job break. And he was like, yeah, honestly, I don't know if he'll listen, but we'll see. I'll have to send it to him. But yeah, shout out to Jay. I was like, yeah, I can weld. And he was like, okay, cool. Like be at this place at this time. And I was like, whoa, like, I was like, yeah, didn't been to trade school and was like, no, that's cool. Like, if you say you can weld, like, show up, we'll see. Like, there was no question of like, yeah, who I was and whatnot. He was just like, maybe he was desperate, but I just think that like he has good values, which I learned when I worked with him. So I definitely started at the bottom. They like eased me into it. I was just welding on the mesh on the top of the top of the frame, like pretty low consequence stuff. And then I ended up doing that job for 4 years. And my last season there, I was in charge of my crew.
Damn.
And like, yeah, it was really cool, the growth and just like the persistent. Well, like when I showed up for that job, I was fucking terrified. I was like,
oh, tell me more. Like, like pressure. I get it. Like pressure showing up and being the new person on, but was it like, what were you running? Were you running like a flux wire MIG, or were you running like, or that's what you were doing?
Yeah, it was flex fire with MIG. There was one stick welder on the crew. He was ancient, old Frank. Oh my God, he was.
By the way, that's
old.
the only welding terminology I know. That's fancy.
Yeah, it was flux core wire on 180 amp generator or welders with a generator power. All the stuff was helicoptered in, which was cool. Yeah, it was a really, really cool job. There was definitely some really fucked up hard days, like walking really far the further we got into this track that we were building. And then but there were some amazing days. And yeah, so my first day, like, showed up on the track, I was like blown. I was mind blown. I was like, this is my office. I'm like staring at the snowy river, like the path to Kosciuszko, which is Australia's highest point, was like right there. It was like in the backyard, like it was crazy cool. And I just remember like the big boss, like the big head Boilermaker, looked at me and was like, okay, our welds need to be 6 millimeters. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, to perspective, I started this job in like March of 2020, and I had graduated welding school in 2016. So like I hadn't welded in 4 years, but I was like, I got this. I know I can do this. And then they just handed me a welder and was like, go. And I was like, oh my God. Okay.
Shit.
And it was a struggle at first. I was like, I remember asking like, do you like to push or pull the bead or like all this? And then like things came back really quick. Like things came back really, really quick. And then because the head Boilermaker ended up, so Boilermaker is just fancy word for welder in Australia. That's like the term they use.
Did not know that. Super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know if many of them had actually made a boiler, but it's just like, that's the terminology. Anyway, so then I got paired with the head Boilermaker a few days later, once I'd like kind of passed the little like, is this girl gonna just complain and moan and all the time? So I was the first female that this company had ever hired.
Wow.
Just for perspective. So I was the only one. I was terrified. And then after like literally half a day working with this older guy, Matt, the Boilermaker, he was like, oh shit, you know what you're doing? And I was like, yeah, like I just needed a few days to like get my bearings again. And then, yeah, I was pretty trusted after that point. Like I didn't have a lot of like actual fabrication skills. Like I was like, give me 2 pieces of metal, stick them together. But this job really, really taught me like angles, and we were working on like unpredictable terrain that changed every time, like on side slopes, and we had to keep things at a certain degree so it wasn't too steep, and there were stairs and there was rocks and there was like all sorts of different variables. Like it taught me so much. And it was really, really humbling at the same time, but it also pushed me to like, shit, I can tolerate some stuff. Like I can lie in the mud. I can weld like 2 centimeters off the ground and like be covered in ants and dirt and flies and
damn, I could not do that shit. No.
It was pretty cool.
No.
And I'm like, every so often in the shop, Lucas is like, oh, like, do you want me to like, we could make this more comfortable? And I was like, dude, no, this is fine. The floor is flat. There's a roof over my head. Like the standard is fine. Like it's cool.
Dirty floor. Thank you. Ants and wombat poop. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And we got to do some camping out there too for like when the walk got like really, really far.
That
was so cool.
That's super sick.
Yeah.
I can totally relate with like the conversion from the metric system to the English standard, or if that's even the correct terminology for the
Imperial?
Imperial, there we go. See, I'm not an engineer. But I remember when like, I don't know, it wasn't the first night of work, but it was probably like the third or fourth, and Charles was like, and he'll kill me for doing the accent, but Parker, can you go and grab me the 9-meter box, mate? Or the 3-meter, or the 9-meter box, mate? Yeah. And I was like, oh, fuck, what the fuck is a 9-meter box? What is that?
That's so
I was
funny.
like, oh, 9 times 3, 27 foot. Okay, 27 foot. That does not look like 27 foot. And then I brought him the wrong box, and he's like, mate, that's not the 9-meter box. I was like, oh, God.
Your accent's pretty good, not gonna lie.
Right. Well, I mean, my wife is Australian, so it rubs off, but
oh, okay.
Appreciate
okay, that adds up.
You took a chance, they took a chance on you, and you're in an opportunity that maybe you didn't think you were going to get. They're believing in you, and for 4 years you probably worked on some stuff that is pretty cool, and I would have to imagine they're in a lot of selfies that people have taken in Kosciuszko National Park, because they've been standing on some bridge that you've welded together.
It's really cool. Like on the All Trails app, that is a pretty big hiking app. Like every so often I'll get bored and I'll go and I'll read the reviews on like a trail that we built, and I'm just like, oh, this is so cool, and it's like gonna last forever. But back to like the whole taking a chance on me and me taking a chance on them, like there was a lot of pressure, and I think I can speak for a lot of women as the first to go into maybe a company that hasn't hired women before. It's like, you don't want to fuck up, like, because it's not just you. Like, then if you fuck up and you're weak and you complain and you make it a toxic environment for everyone else, then they're going to be like, oh, well, we tried, we had a girl once, she was shit, and then you just ruin it for everyone else. And that was like an unwelcome pressure.
That's such a good point.
Yeah, like
that's such a good point.
And it was really cool. Like I got the chance of getting a few of my friends to work with me. Like my friend Kira joined the crew and ended up starting a carpentry apprenticeship with that same company. And it was really freaking awesome. And just using that to be like, no, like we got this. And I think it was a huge adjustment for a lot of the guys. Like a few of them would be like, no, Maddie, let me lift this. And like at the start, I got so pissed off. I was like, no, I know how to do this. Like, I will ask for your help. I know my limits more than me. Like, don't talk down to me like that. And it took them a while to be like, oh, right. Yeah. Like, sorry. Like they thought they were doing me a favor. And they were. Like, it was quite nice for them to offer help constantly, but it was also like annoying of being like, no, I'm not like gonna let you pull my weight. Like there was definitely moments where I was like, hey, sorry. Yeah. Okay. I do need your help with this. But it was it was a learning experience for all of us. And I really, really hope that my hard work ethic and positive attitude and eventually I got the confidence to play my girly bop music. At the start, it was like, oh, here's my speaker, you play what you want. Like it was growth on a lot of fronts, that company, and I'm super, super thankful for that opportunity. And the pressure of not fucking up definitely made me a better worker, I would say. Yeah, no,
totally. Lucas, we just got the derivative of why we listen to Taylor Swift in the shop. Get over it.
We did. Get over it, bud. Like, take it as a compliment, bro.
Yeah. I want to hit Jeremy Blake's question. Jeremy Blake, never met him personally, but sounds like an awesome human being. Kind of along the lines of what we've been discussing with just snowboarding, your passion, and who you are as a person.
Hey, Maddie, it's Jez. Yeah, cool. Like, awesome that you're on the potty. I was just racking my brain to think of like a question that isn't just like, where do you see yourself in like 5 years, or like what's your favorite feature to ride? I want to know a hypothetical. It's midnight. You're at like a massive house party and the vibes are starting to die down and you're just like willing to just keep on kicking on, and like the clock's going to hit 12 and you got to play one absolute banger, keep the whole thing rolling. What song are you going to choose? And then also, I guess I've known you for a long time in the industry, but I didn't really know you when you were like first starting out as a snowboarder. And I'd be super interested to know, what did that look like? Like, how did you, I think operating and welding, all this stuff has been born from a love of snowboarding. And I'd like to know, like, where did you first learn to snowboard and how was that experience, like your first day? Anyway, thanks. And yeah, super stoked for you.
Aw. Hey, Jez. So much love for Jez. Shout out to Jez. Just before I answer the questions, I just have to say, like, he was my boss, my first season cat driving, which was pretty dope. And he was the grooming manager last year. And I just have to thank him for a lot of opportunities at Thredbo, and just, he's a really awesome friend. So shout out to Jez. Definitely would not be where I am without him, which is rad. Yeah, the party question. That's a good one. Yeah, as I said before, the dance floor is my happy place, and I'm not scared to start it. That's for sure. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Three songs came to mind.
Yeah, go. I'm excited about
and
this.
I don't think they should surprise anyone if they know me. Okay, so one that I love, and I think is quite the banger, is "Party in the USA" by Miley Cyrus. I will get down to that any day of the week.
Okay.
But as far as keeping the party alive, keeping the party going, I think a crowd pleaser song would definitely be "Untouched" by the Veronicas. That's a big one. That's a huge one.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Right? Like, come on, everyone knows that song.
I could absolutely keep the vibes going with that one. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, but okay, I do have to say that I love the song, but I'm so sad that WAP came out during COVID because we never got to like go and like fully enjoy that song. So maybe not as like a rescue the party, but as a house party banger, that's pretty high on my list to enjoy.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid answers.
Call me basic. I don't care. Those are fun songs.
No, whatever. I don't think you're far from basic. I think there's a lot to be said for those answers for those songs. And I've again never met Jeremy. I really like your. We didn't really touch on this, but I would love for you to go on his second question, just kind of where maybe your head was on the first day of snowboarding, what it was like, your experience, if it was an out-of-body experience or if it was something you anticipated or not. I
just wanted to be really good at it right away. Like, I'm sure all 11-year-olds think that things are going to happen. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I remember it was like this hot pink Burton board because, you know, I'm a girl, so everything has to be hot pink, especially in the snowboard industry at that point in time. I don't even remember what year it was. I'm not great with that stuff. But
I'm trying to think like
anyways,
hot pink snowboards. Yeah. Anyway, was it Burton board you said?
Yeah, it was a rental one.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Never mind. Disregard.
Yeah. No, I have no idea. It was a rental one. But okay, I think this, honestly, my second time snowboarding sticks out more for me because it was at like a school ride day. So we went and I had convinced my mom to buy me this yellow, I think it was like Free Sport board from like this used snowboard shop. Like, it was, looking back, I'm like, that board was such a piece of shit. And I remember we had to go, like, I'm pretty sure it was rotten. It was like this, I'm not going to call out the store, but they had this like system where like you could buy used boards. And then when you grew out of it, you could give it back and get a credit for like a different one. So that was like great of getting people in the industry. It was perfect. But I don't know if these people actually cared about like what quality they were. So it was like a huge noodle. And I remember going up this rope tow where you just had to grab the rope. There was no hooks or anything. It was like full mitt shredding. And I like barely knew how to stand up on a snowboard. So you had to get to the top. And I remember like fighting so hard. I was like, okay, I got to the top of the bunny hill because you had to do like a little test for the school to make sure that like you could be trusted on your own to go and like navigate this tiny little East Coast resort. I remember getting to the top and my binding, like, all the ladders like snapped. And I was like, what the fuck? I remember like crying so hard and being like, what the hell? I just want to snowboard. And then I went into the rental shop and they helped me out and it was all good. But I could figure out how to heel side. So, and I just thought I was absolutely killing it. I thought I was like pro on day one because I could heel side. Like I didn't know that toe side was like a thing. Like I was like, yeah, I slid down on my butt and the Black Diamond. That was freaking sick. I'm the best. And it was a few months later, I think, that my Uncle Jack came and took me out. Shout out to Uncle Jack. And I was like, yeah, I'm killing it. Look at my skills. Like that first lesson I got was the only lesson I've ever had officially. Wow. And my Uncle Jack was like, Maddie, no. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, can you go on your toes? And I was like, that's not snowboarding. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, yeah. I was so like in my own little world. I hadn't been exposed to it. Like I hadn't watched snowboard videos or like known anyone else that snowboarded. Like at all. I don't know. I have no idea why I was into it, to be honest. Like I don't have a good answer to that question. But I remember he was like, no, I'm making sure this is not how you do it. And then he took me down and we started from scratch and he made me toe side and then heel side and, snowboard normally. And then I can thank him so much for that or else I probably still would have just been heel siding to this day. So shout out to Uncle Jack for killing my 11-year-old ego and teaching me the right way to do things.
No, that's so cool. And I think like you brought up like a really good point there too. Like we were talking about like culture earlier, but I was probably the snowboard video guy before I was really pursuing the snowboarding, and I would sit there and watch the movies and then go, okay, I'm going to go try to go emulate that. And then I would, basically, leave a portion of my arm on the rail or whatever. But I think there's something to be said. There's so many stories of the common denominator of kind of why people gravitate towards this industry. But I think there are I shouldn't say that. There's so many stories also as to what the love for snowboarding is to somebody, but I think publicly there's not a whole lot of stories about that. So no, I think that's incredible. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. And a massive shout out to Jeremy for contributing. Big thank you to him for sure. I know it's an ask to do those things. Like you sit down there with the phone and you go to record the question and you're like, oh my God, I have to do this again and again and again because I don't like it. So yeah, no, thanks, Jeremy. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Love you, Jess.
Maddie, hey, I just want to take 2 seconds and say thanks so much for taking the time to jump on the podcast with me. This conversation has most certainly opened my eyes. And each conversation does, but I think in particular, as I mentioned to you, I'm trying to just breathe life back into this thing and have some meaningful conversations, so that not only this community and the Blade Dive sees value in what we're doing, but I feel like I'm actually creating something that is worth putting out there to the world. So thank you so much for sharing your story, everything you've accomplished, what you're all about, who you want to be, and how you can help others. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's really, really nice to hear. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely honored and stoked and excited to be on this podcast. And I wouldn't, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't absolutely terrified at the same time. So yeah, if I helped shine a positive light on anyone or anything, I'm stoked. So thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun.